And hello, Jacqueline. We
Hello.
are live right now, I think. Somebody tell me,
I
are
think
we?
I
Yeah.
can see on my screen live on Facebook recording.
Yes. Okay. So it's good to see you, Jacqueline, and a very, very happy new year to you.
Yes, for you too, and for all the people who are watching us.
Yes. It's good.
And
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see you, Jacqueline. And we have been working together. I mean, I've been your client for almost 2 years now. So it's a wonderful opportunity for me to interview you finally.
thank you. Um, well, is it in India the same that people start in January of new things? They start dieting. They want to lose weight. They want to eat
Yes,
healthy.
yes,
Yes.
yes. So, in fact, I just now saw a T-shirt, and it's written in Hindi. But for my viewers over here, uh, the the T-shirt said that "Pran jaye par vajan na jaye," which translated in English means I can lose my life, but I cannot lose weight. So, New Year resolution around fitness goals, and yes, in few months it all gets. So,
Yes.
tell me, Jacqueline, why does that happen?
Well, like a client of me, Patty.
Yes, yes.
Last year in January, she started very motivated for her umpteenth diet, and she did that for about 3 weeks, and it went very well.
Uh huh.
And after 3 weeks, she lost some weight.
Mhm.
After 3 weeks, it was getting harder,
Mhm.
and um, she wasn't motivated anymore, and she
Yes.
started eating unhealthy food again,
Yes.
and the hardest problem of her
Mhm.
was that she was in her mind busy with food the whole day. She was thinking about bad food and good food and what she could eat and what she shouldn't eat, and but the whole day long she was thinking about food,
Yeah.
and uh, so she was a kind of fighting to
Hmm.
herself the whole day.
That's interesting. She was fighting with herself the whole day. Hmm.
Mhm. Um, because in your mind, in your conscious mind, you want to change things and you want to make better things happen, and but unconscious, you don't want it, or you can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes that's very hard to understand for people, but with mental space psychology you can make it so clear, very easy.
Hmm.
um, so when she
So,
came.
yeah. May I pause you for a moment? Because I think you said something very important here, that the conscious mind, we have resolved to eat healthy, and we have figured out through all the readings what's good health. And yet we don't succeed because unconsciously something is happening, and that
Right.
mental space psychology can help. Can you say some more about what is this unconscious process that inhibits us?
um, well let, let's say about that client, that Patty.
Mm-hmm.
She came to my practice and told me that she was busy with that, and then I started to make her food panorama. And
Okay.
what is that? Uh, Let me explain a little bit what mental space psychology is.
Mm-hmm.
In mental space psychology, we investigate how and where
Mm-hmm.
uh, people unconsciously store their memories. Um,
Ah.
because everything you've ever experienced
Mm-hmm.
has a certain place in your in or around your body.
Wow. And I want
And
to just reiterate this because, Jacqueline, this is a very important piece, that whatever we have experienced in our lives before, those memories have a location.
Right.
And those locations, when I say location, that location is either inside or around the body.
Right.
That's such an important piece, viewers. Just pay attention to this. As we are seeing, it's not unconscious as an abstract. It has a location. It's very tangible. Yes, Jacqueline.
And of course, people are not aware of everything they ever experienced,
Yes.
but it is unconsciously stored.
Yeah.
And that's also with food.
Huh.
So Patty came to my practice, and we started to make her food panorama. So I wanted to know how she stored her food around her or inside her, but she had it all around her and very, very close.
Yes. Now, isn't that interesting? Because you just now said she was obsessing about food the entire day. She was thinking, oh, what good food, what food not to eat. And then you're saying in her food panorama, food was all around. Yes.
Yes, and that's what makes it hard not to think about it. In 2017, I did research in the mental space with 12 women who suffered from binge eating and overweight problems. And they all had the food very close around them. I have a picture of it, of how people see their food. People with problems with it, of course. And
yes, we can see it. Okay, so it is like these food items, these locations are very close to us and around us.
So it's hard not to think about food because unconsciously you see it all day around you.
Yes, it's like having, you know, if one was living with their family and the family members, you're seeing them every day, so you have a relationship. So the food is also now like your family all around you, and you are in that. Yes, that's so interesting. Yes.
Yeah, and then with Patty, we moved that food, what wasn't good for her, we moved it to another place further away from her.
Yes.
And it was pretty easy to do that with her.
But I know of enough situations where that's not so easy. I have, you know, in a very recent NLP practitioner training, I asked one of the participants to move, and they were like, no, no moving it. I just want to keep it where it is.
Yes.
So there's resistance too, right?
Most times that's the problem.
Yes.
Because you want to have it away, but
yes.
something else in yourself wants to keep it. And then we start to make a diagnose also with mental space. That's a very fast way to do it. So we make the problem visible.
Okay.
And that's what
say some more. You said there is resistance, and that with mental space psychology, you make the problem visible.
Right.
Also.
Every problem or a bad feeling about something also has a place in your mental space.
Yes.
So when you feel fear, you can concentrate on that feeling, and then I can ask you, well, where in your mental space is it? And if we look at it, then most time you will see the image what has to do with that fear.
Yes.
So that's a very fast way to diagnose the real problem behind food or overweight.
Yes.
And in my workshop, I'll teach the participants how to do that and how to work with it, and how
Okay.
to make their clients that they can work with the clients to make a food panorama and do a diagnosis with it, and make the overweight visible, because
Yes.
that also has a place in mental space.
And let me pause you again, Jacqueline, because some of the viewers, just now Jacqueline mentioned a workshop, and she's coming to India next month. In fact, in just a few weeks, she's flying down to India, and she's going to do a workshop on the weight loss model and mental space, to how do you work with these unconscious maps around whether weight issues or eating disorders, using mental space psychology. So when she's talking about how she's going to teach the participants to diagnose, that's what she's referring to. And the dates are February 22nd and 23rd here in Hyderabad. And we are looking forward to it. Yes, so as you were saying, that you are going to help the participants create the food panorama, and and learn to diagnose issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also how to work with the problems,
Yes.
because sometimes it's easy to just move the food away.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have several techniques,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it's also a little bit hard, but then there is not a real big problem
Mm-hmm.
in it, but just little issues.
Yes.
So then you can use other techniques to
Mm-hmm.
move the food
Yes.
and bring the better food closer,
Okay.
because if you see vegetables in front of
Yes.
you, then because the location is important of how you feel about it. If
Okay.
it's very close to you, like if you have chocolate here,
Yes. Yes. And look at
then
me, I'm all smiles. Yes.
so if we put, instead of chocolate, we put some vegetables here,
Yes. Oh, well,
then
I got my carrot right in front right now.
then you think about carrots
Yes.
first,
Yes.
because the chocolate is gone here.
Yes.
Say we put it far away behind you,
Yeah.
and if you have
Not too far, please. I mean, I still want it.
issue about chocolates,
And viewers, you would notice as we are interacting. So when she said the chocolate has moved away, I had this little reaction going on inside me. Like, oh no, I don't want to really move it far away. And this is this resistance, these unconscious maps around food that we have. That's not something that you can disrupt just consciously, but you'd really have to go into where
yeah.
this is happening, and to do it simply, I think that's what she's mentioning, is how do you work with the location and work with the resistance to be able to move. Am I right, Jacqueline?
And I have an example for with another client, and
Yes. Yes.
Angela. She came to me, and she had binge eating.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to stop it, of course.
Yes.
And we started to make her food panorama. And when I want to help her to move the food away,
Yes.
she felt that kind of fear in herself.
Yes. Yes.
And then we found out that she had a limiting belief.
Yes.
She was afraid that she didn't belong to her family anymore, because when her family was all together, they were always eating the whole time.
Oh.
And she tried it before when she was with a diet,
Mm-hmm.
and then they talked to her. Oh, come on, you can eat it, and don't do ridiculous, and just eat something. So she was afraid of that
Oh.
their family wouldn't love her anymore. Of course,
Ah.
in your mind, you think, well, nonsense. Of course, they
Yes.
love you. They eat.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
If
Yes.
you eat healthy, of course, people still love you.
Yes.
But that was the unconscious problem. Um, that was a limiting belief, and people who did NLP, they know how to work with it. So we changed it, and after that we could move the food away.
So let me just summarize it for our viewers. I mean, I'm sure all of you are getting it, but yet for some of you, this may be a new experience. So what she's talking about is the food had a different context and a old memory, and that old memory had created a certain belief around it, and it was that belief that was not allowing her to make the change that she wanted. And when the belief was worked on, sorry for my cough, Jacqueline, and so then she was able to work through. Am I right?
Right. Yes. And I did it with the social panorama.
Mm-hmm.
We changed her beliefs
Ah.
about how her family should love her.
Mm-hmm.
We changed it with the techniques of social panorama.
Okay. And viewers, those of you who know Social Panorama, it's a model that was developed by Dr. Lucas Dirks. And it's been there for, I think, 30 years now, almost 30 years. And in fact, Jacqueline was one of the first clients using the Social Panorama when it was being developed. And so this is the work with limiting beliefs on Social Panorama is what she's referring to, and how she has been working with the limiting belief of this lady. So it's very interesting because you have been a therapist for what now, almost 30 years or 25 years?
26 or 27 years, yes.
Whoa, that's a long journey. And you have done hypnotherapy, family constellation, and
NLP, family constellation, and a lot of workshops with like Robert Dills.
Yes, you're trained directly with them. Yes, yes,
and of course Lucas.
Yes, of course. You've been an associate for a very long time. Yes. So here is the point. Because you have experienced so many diverse modalities and you have practiced, you're an expert at that. What is special about mental space psychology? This is a question I get asked. So why can't we do work on these food issues using just hypnotherapy or, family constellation? What is special? What does mental space psychology bring?
Because it's proven, but they're still working on more proofs in the neurophysica.
Yeah.
That people store their memories three-dimensional in their mind.
Okay.
So if you want to change something, it is good to work with that because you can think positive, but it won't change your unconscious images. I had a client and she was about 74 years old, and she had a traumatic experience when she was a child. And it was about sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And it was very traumatic, of course, for her. But in all those years she lived, she told me, yes, I worked on it, and she had therapy for it, etc. But when she talked about it, I saw it in her face and in her movements that it still bothered her.
Yes.
And when I asked questions about it, her eyes filled with tears, and so I knew it still was somewhere. Yes. So then we explore where she saw the image of the traumatic experience, and she saw it just in front of her.
Ah,
So can you see it? Like
yes, I
here.
can see you. Yes, right here. That's pretty close. That's
Just,
very, very close. Yes.
it was still scary about it,
Yes.
and she reacts every time on it when she thought about it, or when she saw something on television.
Yes. Yes.
And then I told her, let's try to move the image.
Yes.
So we gave the image of the traumatic experience another place, far, much further away, about 5, 6, maybe 10 meters.
Yes.
And then that was it. The bad feeling, everything was
Yes.
gone. And and I checked it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And also when she came back a few weeks later, I checked it again because I
Yes.
wanted to be sure that it
Yes.
wouldn't
Yes.
bother her again. And but it kept staying away from her.
Mm-hmm.
And first we put it on the side,
Mm-hmm.
about 5, 6 meters on the
Mm-hmm.
left of her.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came back 3 weeks later,
Mm-hmm.
I asked her about it again, but
Yes.
there wasn't fear anymore, and she didn't cry anymore. And
Yes.
she could just look at the image, but because it was further away, it didn't
Yes.
bother her anymore.
Yeah.
And then after that, we could even move it to far away behind her
Mm.
in
Mm.
her history. And so sometimes people work with issues, but the image still stays in their mental space on the same spot.
That is such a powerful point you're bringing out.
So if you see that with the client,
Mm-hmm.
there's still something going on, and you just ask for it. So where are you aware of it?
Yes.
And they
Yes.
point it out.
Yes.
Then and if you move it, and it can be moved, sometimes that's enough.
That's enough. Yes.
And if you can't move it, then it means that you have to do something with it.
Yes.
So, but this gives you a diagnose so fast.
Yes, and that's what I'm realizing. The way you are describing this process, it is so it's simple and it's still so logical, right? I mean, first move the experience away. If you can't move the experience away, then because every memory has a location, then work on the beliefs or other aspects to it, um, and then just resolve that. And that's something, Jacqueline, I have noticed with you. I mean, I've worked with 2 years with you for a number of sessions. Is this ability to be utterly creative and present? And I think it comes through those 3 decades of experience that you're so present. And I remember having these various moments of resistance, and you would be like, well, and then you start with this very understated. It's a very understated way of coaching that you have, and I like it because I tend to be very flamboyant, as some of the viewers. I am all over the place. I just do a lot of moving, and you have this very understated, very very thoughtful, reflective, very and then very creative. I mean, I remember the last session. I started with something else, and we went on to setting boundaries, which is
Yeah.
where my problem was. And viewers, as you're listening, so this is the best part of therapy sessions with an NLP or a MSP practitioner, is that it's content free. So don't have to get into the stories, and yet we know the structure of what happened. Uh, and so for a particular issue that I was discussing with her, we boiled down to the issue was setting boundaries, and it was a fabulous. I was like, where did she lead it to? How did she take me to that? And that, viewers, if you're going to attend a workshop, that's something you're going to find. This ability for her to just pause, and just pause, reflect, bring up all those experiences that she has had, and then come up with this very creative. I'm like, okay, got it. And it's fabulous, Jacqueline, that thing that you have, that ability you have. It's different, but it's just so dot on. You're just so clear in the way you work.
And I hope to teach your participants some of that, because we are going to make a goal in mental space.
Yes.
And,
okay.
We work with how you call it, resources in mental space.
Yes.
And if you use it that way, you can work very fast with a lot of problems.
A lot of problems, yes. And thank you for saying that, because I mean, finally, for some of the viewers who are watching, you may already be coaches or psychologists or counselors of some kind, or dietitians or nutritionists. It's so one is learning the model, like how to work this and how to do diagnosis and how to, what else can you use and how can you use it. So that is that. And then the other part is modeling the trainer. How does she do a session? How does she resolve? How does she become very observant of what's happening with the client, and how does she figure out the solution? So there is a lot of modeling also that happens when you attend these workshops. So you also pick up on how the trainer is doing this work, and that's a treat. And Jacqueline, I'm really looking forward to that part too, because it's fascinating the way you're creative and so astute in the way you work through an issue, very tough issues. And yes, about there's one more question that is there, because I have been asked about it a number of times, and that is, well, you can just use NLP submodalities to work around, so food issues, or for viewers, those who are NLPers, you would understand what submodalities. So this question is for you. So when you can just do the submodalities change, what's so special about locational change?
Sometimes it's not enough to just change submodalities, because the location is very important. Maybe that's even more important than the color or the size or whatever, because if there's something just in front of you, like the chocolate, and you see it very big and bright colors, and then it makes it more tasty. But if you move the chocolate, well, then you don't see it anymore. So you don't need to change the submodalities anymore than just it.
Yes, okay.
And also, by only changing the submodalities, sometimes you won't find the real issue. What's just coupled on the chocolate. Let's say chocolate is for you. Chocolate means something, and if you change the color or the size, won't change the issue behind it.
Okay, so that's an important point you're bringing out. So it's not merely just changing the size and color or other aspects of a chocolate or any other food item, but there is also this meaning making. So there is this larger ecosystem that is consisting of our beliefs and memories that we sometimes have to work through to create the change that we want. Am I right?
Right, and because if you use the mental space, then we already discussed it, but it works very quick, very fast,
Yes.
because you move the food and it's okay,
Yes.
then there's no problem. But if you can't move it,
Yes.
oh, then there must be something going on
Yes.
with that, with that food item.
Yes. 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 That is. And at this point, I also want to move our topic to this other issues like say obesity that some folks suffer from. And obesity is not merely just the food, but it is also about not being able to follow a fitness plan, not being able to do exercise when you can.
Yes,
And you had also mentioned about issues around self-image and these weight disorders. Can you speak a little bit on that?
yes. In the workshop, the first day,
Mm-hmm.
we only do the food. We make food panorama and we do exercises with it.
Mm-hmm.
We're,
Jacqueline, I'm sorry for interrupting. Can you speak closer to the microphone? It's the voice is just breaking in and out. Yes.
the second day,
Yes.
we spent the whole day only about the overweight problem
Okay.
and why the overweight wants to stay with you.
Yes.
Because
Huge.
in your mind,
Yes.
lose weight.
Yes.
The weight doesn't want to lose you.
Yes. 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 Yes.
It stays with you. And
Yes.
we're
The
gonna
weight doesn't want to lose you. Oh man, I do know that. Yes. Yes.
and we're gonna explore why and how to deal with it. And a lot of time it has to do with your self-image.
Yes.
So we use that also
Mm-hmm.
uh, in an exercise how to work with self-image.
Yes.
Uh, most of the times people with the overweight, what I experienced in my practice, had, yeah, I think 99% of the people had a small self-image.
Okay.
So that's something you have to work on.
Yes.
And of course, there is a problem. Why do they have a small self-image?
Yes.
So that's
There is
something.
there is another story around that self-image itself. Yes.
And with mental space, it's the same as with the images of food. With mental space, you can explore it very fast, and then you uh, have the core immediately.
Yes. Yes. And I think I like that part a lot. Sometimes we think we probably have to do a lot of work to be able to do some of the basic processes. But the way you are explaining and way I've experienced it with you is it's these processes are simple processes. You just don't need a lot of huge uh, understanding, but it's more of being very present and just literally thinking spatially and working from that space to be able to create the outcome that we want.
And the cool thing about mental space is that your client becomes aware of it themselves.
Yes.
Because if you tell the problem as a
Yes.
therapist, then you can say, "Oh, I think that's your problem or that's your problem." Well, sometimes, of course, they recognize it and they think, "Yes, yes," but now you make it visible,
Yes.
and then they see it for themselves. I had a girl, and what she said, oh, I don't really have a problem. I have a good life. I have my own shop. I have a lot of friends. I have a nice husband. Everything was good in her life.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem was her overweight.
Yeah.
And then we made it visible. And what she saw, she didn't see the fat anymore. She saw a little girl. A little girl was hiding behind the fat.
And again, near the microphone, Jacqueline, sorry.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
So she saw, first she saw that overweight, the fat.
Yes. Yes.
And just right behind that, she saw the image of herself when she was 11 years old.
Wow.
And at that time, they bullied her.
Yes.
And she was afraid and felt lonely. And her mother was very sick at the time. Well, there were all kind of problems.
Mm-hmm.
She she didn't want to think about it anymore.
Yes.
So if you work with that as therapist when you're only talking to someone, it's much harder to get to that point. But now she saw her own image.
Yes.
So she couldn't say, well, I don't have a problem, and because she saw it herself. It was
She
her
saw
own.
it. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And and then it's much easier to work with those problems because they don't deny it anymore.
Yes. Yes. I think that's.
And also because the clients, they come
Mm-hmm.
to you for
Yes.
their overweight problems.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to look at other things
Mm-hmm.
because they're only, in their mind, they're only busy with losing weight.
Yes.
They don't want to think about problems of themselves. They only want to lose weight. So that's
Yes.
why they come to you as a therapist or as a dietitian. But now they are confronted with the problem, and they do it themselves because I let them show the image of their overweight, of the fat, or whatever they want to name it.
Yes.
But then with special kind of questions, I show them that it's not the overweight that's the problem.
Ah.
And then
I think that is such a powerful thing to realize, isn't it, Jacqueline? That we sometimes are so obsessed with the weight on the scales, and we think, oh, damn, I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat, or I'm not able to lose weight, I'm not able to lose weight. We don't realize the problem is it's just a symptom, it's just a surface visible aspect of something that is not exactly connected to weight, but something else that's going on, which is the root cause of what is happening. Yes. And how powerful is that? I mean, viewers, as you are listening to this, I hope those of you who uh, think that you have overweight issues, it might help you to just reflect on this, that the issue may not be just the weight on the scales or your ability to persevere or to be disciplined or sustained. There is something else going on under the surface that, meeting with a mental space psychologist may help. And those of you who are watching, who are coaches and psychologists and counselors, dietitians, nutritionists, this is one simple way. I have had dietitians come to me and tell me, Bhavana, I don't know, I have this, and they said yes to the diet plan, yes to the exercise plan. Something is still happening. They're not able to lose that weight. And I welcome you, those of you who are watching this video, there are other issues behind this client's problem. And it would really help if you figured out the unconscious aspects of this. And using mental space techniques, you can do this simply, easily, quickly. Therefore, you're getting better results, and you getting better results basically means more clients coming to you and you feeling satisfied with your profession, because as a coach also, when you work with your client, you want to have that satisfaction, like, yay, I helped the person shift, I helped them achieve their goal. And there's this thing about it.
Yes.
So
And sometimes after you work with the issues, then they can start losing weight,
yes,
and they can let it go.
yeah,
And then a diet will help, and it will help permanently.
yes, yes. So the diet plan, exercise plan that you folks have set up, I'm addressing the dietitians, nutritionists, and coaches. Uh, that's great. That's perfect. Just working on the unconscious issues, resolving it, helps your plan to succeed, helps your client to be able to follow up with that plan. Jacqueline, I want to thank you, because here is the thing, viewers. Jacqueline is from Netherlands, Holland, and she's joined us from there. Um, and her mother tongue is Dutch, and she has been doing therapy, and she's been doing this work in Holland for these 3 decades. And I'm so glad and so thankful and grateful to you, Jacqueline, that you chose to learn and then train in English, which has helped all of us to learn the gems that you already have gained through your extensive therapy experience. And for us to be able to access those nuggets of wisdom, those ways by which we can work with clients. Because here's the thing, viewers, I have noticed this again and again, that we tend to do that which is easier. So anything that's available in the English speaking world is what we gravitate towards. And a lot of this knowledge and genius wisdoms are existing in multiple languages. And we we have to find them, and they have to find us, and this whole piece that goes around. And I am so grateful, Jacqueline, that you chose to, work with me, help me. I mean, a lot of my breakthroughs have happened with the sessions with you. And then travel to India, and you're now going to be training us. That's a huge benefit to humanity. And I'm so thankful, Jacqueline, that you've been making all these efforts to reach out to us and to help us upskill the way we are working on this area.
But thank you to give me the opportunity to give my workshop in India, because that's
Yes.
very special for me too.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm so excited, Jacqueline. I'm so excited.